how this sounds. So I'm just gonna start here, sitting on my porch in the afternoon sun. And I think I just want to talk about the shroom trip that I took yesterday, because I think I'm going to integrate a lot of things that I thought yesterday while having this conversation. So it's both going to be beneficial for me, but also in a non-egoistic way. I think I'm going to be able to offer some cool life lessons or some like cool life things that I was thinking about that might resonate with you. And also I think it would just be fun to hear someone else's experience. And like, first of all, I'm not endorsing drugs and I am not pushing drugs. I'm just letting you know that I did magic mushrooms with my partner yesterday. We're on an island in British Columbia. We went for a walk in nature. We saw literally no humans and it was fucking amazing. It was so much fun. It wasn't a crazy dose. We took 1.75 grams, but we made a tea. So we didn't actually like chew the dried mushroom. We just made a tea and drank it. It hit really well. I felt no nausea. And if you're interested in learning more about magic mushrooms, there's a really good documentary on Netflix and it's called How to Change Your Mind. And it's really good to just present to you an introduction to shrooms and kind of like the effects that it has on the brain and the research behind it, because psychedelics have been researched for decades now. Another like disclaimer is I am giving you, I mean, I feel like I don't need to say this, but to be honest, I think I'm the type of person that needs disclaimers because I think I'm a little bit too naive where I take too many things at face value because I think that my innocence kind of bites me in the ass sometimes and I just want to believe in the like goodness of humanity. But I'm sharing with you all of my opinions on things based as much as I can intend to on fact. So I really care about what's real. I've always been a root systems thinker. For me, I don't like band-aid solutions. I don't like things that kind of just propagate more bullshit on things. If there's a problem, I want to get down to the fucking real reason. And I want to go as deep as I can because essentially I want to solve the problem. And I went into like environmental studies a few years ago after studying a kinesiology degree, which is called exercise science. And I thought I was going to be like a dietitian and then a naturopathic doctor. And then I kind of learned about climate change and I had this life crisis about the earth. It was like I never had a passion before in my life. And when I mean, that's a bit dramatic, but I never felt that like, oof, I really want to do this thing. And I was always jealous of people around me that just were like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a physiotherapist. I want to do this and this. And I know. And I've never really felt that my entire life. And I think I kind of felt like something was a little bit wrong with me. Or I just felt this like deep like angst, even though I could cover it up and run away from it. And honestly, I make a joke, but I think it was like deep down I was worried that I was going to be homeless or that I would like amount to like nothing and that I'm a loser and I won't be able to do anything, which is really funny because I'm not going to tell you that it's completely gone away. I think sometimes I still have this fear that like I haven't figured things out, and it's true. Like I'm on a journey right now and I haven't completely figured things out, but arguably that is life now. And it's really interesting because I just listened to this like lecture on YouTube about this guy talking about how consumerism is modern day slavery, that apparently values have obviously shifted over the decades. And back in the day, maybe around the like 60s and 70s, the economy, because wealth doesn't mean anything by itself. Like money is just money. And someone might be like, well, duh, but money has no like real inherent value. The value of money is the workers behind the money, the people that are making the money and ultimately spending the money. And back in the day, workers were seen as this like valuable part of society. And so the government, let's like I'm assuming that we're talking about the United States here. So the government kind of had all of these like policies in place that would, you know, make life good for workers, offer them like a livable wage, offer them a secure job. enter the workforce and we will take care of you. We'll take care of like your retirement. We'll make sure that you have this job for like a long period of time. We're going to give you a lot of stability, yada, yada, yada. So there were like a lot of like workers' rights, and society was becoming like quite egalitarian. And obviously that doesn't work super well because you have the elites that are like, well, no, fuck this. We survive on difference. And if you're taking care of workers, you're making everything equal. And I don't want that. And so then there was like this big shift away from workers' rights and like valuing workers fairly and adequately. And it changed towards favoring the rich. And so that little tidbit made me think about the fact that I don't think that, like, I feel as though times are changing, and I meet a lot of people that kind of are in the same place as me, where they say, you know, I have a lot of things that I'm kind of good at, and I'm not a specialist in this one thing. And arguably, I kind of thought that if I went to school and I studied this thing, I would get employed in that thing and I would have a job and life would be grand. And that's not how it turns out, because I went to school, I studied this thing, and I didn't get hired, and now I'm a barista. And I know so many people like that, and it is like exactly that we're not valuing the workers anymore. There's not enough jobs. And so that idea that you're just going to like study, get a job, and live life happily, that does not exist anymore. And also, I think at the same time that as society progresses and like obviously hopefully human rights progress, human consciousness evolves, that I think because of human rights, I'm more so speaking about, you know, the USA and Canada, because I can't speak to other parts of the world, that more people are kind of like living in a time where more is allowed, you know, more individual and creative expression. Like there's a place for that in the world. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to make videos and you want to be a content creator, or you want to be an artist, I mean, although depends what type of artist, because AI is becoming increasingly good at like graphic design and things like that. But you know what I mean? That I think that there is a lot more space in today's world for people to kind of do non-conventional career paths. And obviously in human history, there have always been careers like artists and musicians, but it's also different because back then, let's say, I don't know, we're in the time of Beethoven and Mozart, that that music was highly, highly valued in society. And well, you know what? I don't even know if I can really fucking say this because I don't know how much Mozart made. I don't know if he made a lot of money. But my guess would be that renowned musicians and composers were held in high regard in society and paid okay. Or maybe we always had starving artists. See, this is what I'm saying. I'm just like fucking ranting. But that okay, bring it back. In today's society, you know, people can kind of like have more freedom to do what they want and to put more of themselves in their work. And that is kind of this life question that I am having, because I don't want to do something that I'm not passionate about. And I think I'm very lucky to be like in a country and to be living in a time where I can, you know, have that dilemma. And at the same time though, like it is a dilemma. And I also think, oh my God, I'm chewing on, I think. I also think that these things takes time. Like I'm turning 29 this year. And I think sometimes I put so much pressure on myself to have things figured out and to like know what I'm doing. And I get so wrapped up in the destination that I'm not seeing the slow unfolding of my life, and that every like experience that I'm having while becoming more aware of myself, I think is always actually pushing me in the correct direction and like uncovering more truth about myself that I covered up through years of bullshit, really low self-esteem, an eating disorder, like body dysmorphia, and just overall disconnection to my body and poor mental health. I would say like I've just always, not always, but I've had so much negative self-talk over my life, and just really low moments, like really hard moments, processing emotions, regulating my emotions, feeling secure on my own. I was that girl that jumped from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. And yes, I like on purpose said that many because it was like 5 almost back to back in like 5-6 years, that I was jumping from relationship to relationship. And I never actually developed or felt whole on my own. And it's really funny because I'm an only child, and you would kind of think that through all of the time I've spent by myself, and that I kind of had, like difficulties making friends, and that's a topic for another time, that I had difficulties making friends, that I would be very comfortable with myself. And the thing is that in many ways I am, but in many ways I'm not. Like, it's almost as if I had so much wholeness in myself up until a certain point, and then it got lost because you reach puberty and you're dealing with like boys and you're dealing with friends, and then your value starts to become dependent on the external group. Am I accepted? Am I wanted? Am I desired? And then you slowly kind of negate yourself and forget your childlike self and who you are, and you kind of start to live your life being afraid of what other people think of you, making yourself small, treating yourself poorly, not exploring actually what things you really like, and you just start people pleasing. I should be saying all of this from the perspective of I, because it's mostly I did all those things. And then I think hopefully you reach a point after honestly a lot of suffering and a lot of pain and a lot of tears, and you're like, I can't fucking live like this anymore. Like, I refuse. I need help, and I am prioritizing this above anything else because I don't want to live a life where I am not 100% myself, and I'm not in tune with my authentic being. That was very deep. I'm gonna take my face mask off. 1 second. I would love to see what's holding my phone right now. It's a plastic teapot. Okay. Honestly, I don't remember quite exactly what I was talking about. It's probably like my self-esteem. And then you get to a point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I need to take care of my mental health. And the most important thing that I've been running away from because it's felt impossible is feeling good in my own skin. Feeling good in my own skin. And then you go on this journey and you read Eckhart Tolle and you learn about the ego, and then you're crying all the time because you're like starting to become more self-aware, and you're also trying to learn how to regulate and self-soothe yourself and be kind to yourself, and you go on this fucking wild journey, and then you start to become more intentional and more aligned, and you start to listen to your body more, and you start to really think about what things feel good in your body, and you start to realize that you can actually sense energy in your body, and you can start to sense when things are blocked and when things are open, and that you can actually trust the things in your life and the directions that you go when things are open, and that when things are closed, it's maybe not necessarily that the external environment is wrong, but it's also that something's going on inside you, and then you have to take the time and the space to dig down and to, be still and to ask yourself, okay, like, what am I feeling right now? Like, what's going on for me? And it is this whole crazy process, but you have to trust the process, and you have to trust the one truth that when you're aligned, I'm not saying that you're going to win the lottery and that you're never going to suffer and your life is going to be a pink pony ice cream machine. I'm not guaranteeing that, but it's just that you can trust that everything in your life is exactly how it should be, no matter if it's like pain, suffering, happiness, or peace, because arguably once you get to that point of alignment, even the things that cause you to suffer, you kind of either see it as a lesson or you accept it just as life and you don't attach to it. Oh my gosh. So anyways, I give you like a little brief snippet of all of the things that I'm kind of weaving and navigating through in my life, but let's talk on the shroom trip. So we do shrooms, we start to go for a walk, we're walking up this hill, and obviously shrooms are amazing because I've actually started to realize, maybe I'm never going to talk about the shroom trip, and you know what, it's okay, eventually in one video we'll get there, that I've really struggled with substances, and I don't know about you, but I don't know if you're this type of person, but I think I always knew deep down that alcohol just was not for me. And when I was younger, you're a young girl, give me some water. Pro tip, get a brush and clean your Nalgene bottles, guys. Do not fuck around. I wasn't looking at this puppy enough, and there was like algae just coated in my Nalgene. It was disgusting. I think I'm fine. Look at me. I don't look like Shrek, so I think it's a good thing, but that was not fun. Okay, so I think I always knew that alcohol was not meant for me. And it's funny because my mom does not handle alcohol very well. She's just super sensitive to it. She gets drunk really fast, but she just doesn't drink. And my dad drinks, but he's not like an alcoholic by any means. He just like likes to have some beers and likes to drink a glass of wine or a bottle. And it's like there's something so romantic about alcohol, which is fucked because the industry did their marketing really smartly. There's something like so sophisticated, and you kind of think that when you become an adult that you're going to drink wine and you're going to enjoy it. And don't get me wrong, like I think when you're in an aligned place and you're okay and you're not working through any like demons, that alcohol can kind of like not make you a better person, but like support you in an experience, whether it's to like enjoy a moment with your friends or like let loose and dance, you know? But things here and things here need to be okay first. And the thing is that for the majority of my life when I started to use alcohol, which was as like a young teenager, because you want to be cool and you want to go to parties and you want guys to like you and you just want to be drunk because you think that that's what cool adults do, that I always overdid it. I had no respect for alcohol. I had no understanding of how it worked. And also, mind you, I was like in a home where my mom was incredibly strict about these things and was like, absolutely no, you can't drink. And so like coming up from kind of like a strict household and also not being invited into conversations really about alcohol in a way that's not, I don't want to say shaming to like paint my parents in a bad way, but in a way that wasn't just negative about how it's bad for you. Like you're going to misuse it and also not understand it. And it's super funny because my partner is from Mexico and he grew up drinking like very early, but he's like, Brenna, like there's actually much lower incidences of alcoholism in Mexico than in Canada or the United States because the sense of community is different and the way in which people utilize alcohol is also different. Like I feel like in Canada and the States people are drinking to like get away from themselves, to be someone else, to be accepted. Like it's all of these kind of like toxic, sad, like concrete as in cold, like sharp metal. You know what I mean? It's like a fucking like metal building. It's just cold and hollow. It has no soul. Whereas in Mexico, you're fucking listening to like beautiful music with a soul. It's emotive. It has like real intentionality. You're with your family. You're with your friends. You're fucking like singing for life. You might not have that much, but you're not drudged down by consumerism and you're not drowning in this like gluttony for things and status and money and achievement. And you're just like fucking like viva la vida. Life is beautiful. I'm here with my family. I'm here with some good food and good music. What the fuck else do you want from me? And there is something so fucking incredibly beautiful about that, to the point where I really think that like, you know, American for sure and Canadian culture, like it needs help. I look around and I kind of think, where do I want to live when I'm older? Like that question always used to be so, mind you, I'm basically talking about all these things that I thought about on my shroom journey. So we're basically going on my shroom journey, I think. But I was thinking like, where do I want to live when I'm older? And that question, I mean, I think I always took for granted Canada because I grew up in Canada and I'm Canadian. That feels weird to say. But my partner has really like opened my eyes to the fact of like, no, I don't necessarily need to be here. And like, I actually get to choose as an adult. I don't just have to stay for my family. It's like, where do I want to be? And even though I don't necessarily have the answer, I actually think that no matter how beautiful a place is, if I don't feel like the community values are ones that I align with, then I don't want to live there, because that's going to be the people that you're around and that's the energy that's going to affect you in your life. And so I realized it's actually quite a simple answer. Go to the place where the values align with your values. And obviously you have to do some digging and figure it out, you know, but and Mexico has like a lot of problems, you know, if we're talking about like political kind of stuff, right? I was just more so talking about the people. And no place is perfect as well. So you go where you feel your heart is the most vibrant and open. Okay? And so alcohol. So there's lower incidences of alcohol in Mexico, and he really like respects alcohol. He doesn't overdo it. He's like, I've never thrown up in my life. Obviously I have friends that have. My partner's just different. He's very self-aware and integral. And I'm not saying that if people get too drunk and throw up that they're not, but there's like a certain lack of like self-awareness or like self-control, and myself included. I've had way too many drunk nights pooping and throwing up at the same time in the toilet, calling the fire marshal at my university to come and like send help and take care of me. I've like fallen into a bush, I've thrown up in my mom's car, I had to open the door while while my mom was driving and throw up on the street. Like, your girl has thrown up. And I always overdid it. And it's really funny because now, as an older, I'm 29, but now getting older, I'm way more sensitive now just to the life in general because I'm really trying to be aware of myself. And, in one could argue I'm crying more and I'm maybe like feeling pain more, but ultimately I know that it's bringing me towards more truth and authenticity. Like hanging out with friends, I could cry after because I'm just like thinking about the friendship and I'm thinking about myself and I'm thinking about how I fit in or not how I fit in because I'm not trying to fit in, but it's more like wanting to feel that soul connection with people. And also navigating complexity in relationships as you get older. Having a friend group where people spend time without you, but it's not something to take personal. It doesn't mean that they don't like you. And also, how do you hold the fact that maybe like a friend that you've been super close to has what feels like a better affinity with someone else that's new, and you're kind of, wondering, are you going to be left behind? Like, are you unlovable? Are you not good enough? Does this mean they don't like you as much as they like them? Is your friendship at risk? Like, I have all these thoughts in my head, just because I've become more self-aware and I'm learning more about myself. And I realize that, yeah, like I'm still going to drink alcohol once in a while, but I'm definitely aware that there are days where I'm off and there's like a demon or I'm working through a shadow or something, and I drink and something always comes out. And so it's constantly reminded me that I really have to be intentional about what I take and when I take it. And something I was thinking about is, ask yourself some questions before you take any substance, like including shrooms. And my first question is, am I safe? Am I in a safe environment? Am I with people that I know? If I'm not with people do I know, do I get like a good vibe from them? Do I feel okay? That's the first question. Are you safe? Number 2, then, am I using this drug to like get away from something? Am I like not wanting to feel something? Am I uncomfortable? And like usually you have to maybe like find a little peace and quiet and ask yourself these questions. But I find that those 2 questions really help me get aligned fast. And even me, sometimes I want to like microdose shrooms if I'm getting my period and I'm gonna start PMSing and I'm like, oh my God, brace the world, like let's medicate myself. But also I don't want to medicate myself. So I also ask myself that question because I don't want to misuse something that is so beautiful and pure, because magic mushrooms truly get rid of the ego layer, and different strains do different things. And the strain that we took kind of just completely took away the ego layer and we just became kids and we were laughing, but I was also, having these spiritual insights, and like colors were so vibrant, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, how do trees look like this? And is the sky always this blue? Like, life is so beautiful. This is crazy. I was thinking about like being a mother, and I was seeing my partner and me like as parents, which kind of just created this whole different level of loyalty and devotion, being like, wow, like you and I are a team and we're gonna have little escuincles, which are like little kids in Spanish. We're gonna have little escuincles together, and that's fucking awesome. And then I was also thinking about like self-love, and I was like, fuck, like I'm seeing the way that it's like I'm having an out of body experience, but I'm inside myself. And so I'm seeing myself kind of have all of these like philosophical or like life insights, and I'm trying to tie pieces together and like integrate different like emotions and thoughts. And I'm seeing also me and my partner, who I love, like walking through a forest and looking at how cool nature is, and we're being silly, and I just love us. And I was like, fuck, like our kids hopefully are gonna like love us and appreciate us. Like if I was a kid and these were my parents, I'd be like, fuck, my parents are so fucking cool. And then that makes me go, why am I so hard on myself? Like I'm awesome when I see myself through the lens of someone else. Knowing that I've gone through like my whole journey and that I'm really trying. But it's almost like weird, because when I'm just in my own body and in my own head, I'm much harder on myself, and I don't give myself that perspective and that appreciation. So obviously the goal is to like have that just from yourself, not needing to, be in the perspective of someone else. But also potato, like however you want to integrate it. If that helps you start to like over time become more self-loving to yourself, more confident and whole and just, feeling worthy, then fuck it up. And so the fuck was I talking about? So that was like some of the things that we were thinking about on the trip, and I think I was talking about alcohol. And so we had a really great trip because I felt very open and I felt very aligned. I think that was all I was going to say. And then, well, you know what? Maybe I'll come back to, there's always more to talk about on these things. So we'll dive into that topic another time. But when we were walking, I remember we go to this like abandoned bus shelter, but it wasn't sketchy, but it was wild because there was like a painting or a drawing on the inside of the bus shelter, and it was in black and white. I guess they didn't have color. And then there was like a picture of a bunch of school children. So one could kind of make it like this weird like horror movie kind of like weird thing, like all these kids are dead and these are their paintings. But I mean, it's not true. It's just a fucking cute community island, and they probably just wanted to like put pictures of the school kids there. And I was like, damn, like kind of cool to see like a picture of people and you have no idea how old they are now. Maybe they're the same age as me. Like, who knows? What are they doing? What are they wearing? Oh, so weird. Girls my age are like wearing what these like 8-year-old girls are wearing because Y2K fashion is fucking off the chain right now. But like wearing penny loafers with like little ankle socks and fucking capris and like a little pink cardigan with a pink t-shirt with a pink star, like exactly what I'm talking about from, I don't know, the 2000s. And this painting was like, my partner was like, what the fuck, there's like an evil dolphin in the corner. And I was like, oh my god, you're right, like who the fuck drew this? And we start to look at it, and it's like this really like depressing drawing where this person is getting electrocuted, there's like an evil looking dolphin in the corner, like it just looks like anarchy and that the world is falling apart. Which like one could argue, oh, the kids fucking knew what was up, they knew what was happening in the world when they painted this. And it was like kind of eerie and like sad, but there was something okay about it, and also just cool that like kids drew and we get to look at what were in these kids' heads. And I feel like yes, we have public art like graffiti or people paint the sides of their stores, but I don't know, like inside the minds of children is fascinating, and how they see the world, because in a way it's like untainted, it's so innocent, and it's also like kind of unbiased because kids are not able to develop a sense of self that early, so it's not imposed with like a societal expectations yet or like insecurities, I hope, and so I don't know, like it's just kind of nice to keep the old as well. And I don't feel like we do a good enough job at honoring tradition anymore. And I think I understand because so many people are angry at tradition, being like, well, women couldn't have bank accounts at that period of time, so like why the fuck would I acknowledge this particular tradition because it came from this period of time. And I just think that black and white thinking is not super productive. And also it depends culturally where you're from, like Canadian and an American culture is going to be a lot different from a Mexican, Latin American, European, even like, Japanese tradition. And there are obviously some that are outdated and that I don't maybe agree with, if it has things to do with like human rights and like women needing to be this like idea of purity and very, you know what I mean? Like not a slut, not a hoo-hoo. I don't really agree with those. I think women, when they're empowered and authentic, however they choose to embody themselves and present themselves, I think is cool. If that's in a sexual way, if you're aware of why and it is coming from you, fuck it up. But if it's coming from the need, I mean, and also, let's give ourselves a break. Like, human nature exists, biological evolution exists. Like, we have always been created with both, like, men and women. And there is something nice about dressing nice and feeling proud and dignified in the way that you look. And also knowing that you're, like, you're an attractive human in the world. And this is why I think like black and white thinking does not help here, because it's like a gray area. You need to be like flexible and kind of like let the teeter totter like figure itself out, because like I don't want to dress just looking around to see if guys are noticing me, which is what I used to do when I went out to the club because I was so insecure, and I would drink and I would just be so excited to get validation. If you're doing that, then I think you're just suffering. And also, like, the way you present yourself, it's going to be kind of phony. Like, you're probably just going to try and dress like somebody else, and you're not going to feel embodied. You're not going to feel like you have a personality, and you're also going to be more likely to be a consumerist. You're more likely to just consume and consume because you're always chasing this like unattainable standard or this unattainable idea of value and worth, and you're just going to fucking perpetuate it, and then you're going to become like addicted to the behavior, and you're going to feel empty inside, and you're going to feel sad. That was a lot, but it is fucking true because I've lived it, and if it's not true for you, that's totally fine. It's just my truth. And so you're going to dress like everybody else. What the fuck? This is the thing with my brain. I'm like, how did we get here? And why am I talking about this? Oh, I was talking about like culture and tradition. Okay. But I think that there are so many values in the analog world. And it kind of scares me, like thinking about being a parent. I don't want my kids to grow up with a screen in their face. Like, I want my kids to play outside. I want my kids to have a relationship with nature. And I know that that's like a privileged thing to say. And like, people can't like afford necessarily to like, you know, have a house on an island where kids can have access to nature. You know, maybe they're living in the city, but that's why green spaces and that's why city planning is like super important. And, you know, accessibility and things like that. Like, I do feel as though depending on where you live, you know, you have to make the best with what you have, and hopefully there is like some sort of nature around you. And then don't let me go into this whole fucking debate about what counts as nature and what doesn't, because nature's not necessarily wilderness. You can find an appreciation for living beings everywhere. It just depends on your perspective, whether it's like you have a tiny little you like garden in your house, or there's like a little park, or there's like a pond, you know, a stone's throw away. My hope is just that kids have time to connect with nature, kids have time to explore, kids have time to imagine and not get fed like these hollow kind of stories. I'm a little bit worried at what kids are consuming, and I was thinking about Peppa Pig. I'm doing a lo-fi podcast. Want to come?
How long?
38 minutes. Do you want to come? Have a snack, yeah. I'm gonna cook after this. I'm just currently talking about Peppa Pig.
Tick.
Thank God you remembered that one. Tick, don't be a tick on the dick. Peppa Pig. Okay, so yeah, I can't say shit because I haven't watched Peppa Pig, for example. I haven't seen Paw Patrol. And I also can't necessarily well, no, I think I can. I feel like kid shows, I don't know about Teletubbies, but I feel like kid shows had more depth. There was more like realness in them before. And now I'm sounding like an old person, but I genuinely am concerned. And we were walking through the forest, and I was talking to my partner, and I was explaining how I was hanging out with my girlfriends, and we were sitting on the porch, and like we had all like smoked a little bit of weed. Remind me like in another video to talk about my like relationship with weed, because I'm like very careful with smoking weed now. But anyways, it's like a whole other conversation. So we were talking about life, and somehow the topic came on to demons, and my friends were like, oh my God, don't talk about demons. Like, I can't fucking do this right now. I'm so stressed and scared. I've heard really bad stories. I know somebody, blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, demons? Are you for real? Let's all ground ourselves in what's real people in life. And demons are only scary because you're making them scary in your head. But my friends were like, no, Brenna, I'm for real. Like, stop talking about it and stop trying to convince me that demons don't exist. Like, it's not going to work. And thank God my dad was there, because they started stressing me out. And like, I was a little bit high, and I was like, Dad, like, can you just fucking like bring me back down to earth? Like, do you have to be afraid of demons? And he was like, you know what you have to be afraid of, Brenna? Ticks. And it was just like the perfect sentence, because it represents so much. You know what you should be afraid of? Ticks. And also, like, sorry to be like really depressing depending on like where you live in the world, like unfortunately war and like starvation and blah blah blah, but it was like representative of the fact that humans, including myself, get so fucking scared and fearful about so much based on the future, like these doomsday or these like existential kind of anxieties, or just like this like empty anxiety of like almost like nothing, you know, you just feel anxious with yourself. You don't know what to do with yourself because you feel empty, because you're not being productive. And don't get me wrong, I feel this. I get Fridays off from work. I work 4 days a week, and Fridays like consistently have been like anxious days for me, because I'm like, how do I perceive value? Oh, it's in doing, it's in achieving. And if I'm not doing that, then how? Oh, Papa, he left. And if it's not in doing that, how do I feel at peace with myself? And then you try and like busy things up, and you try and, you know, have a full schedule, or you just try to do like fucking errands, or you're like, I'm gonna go to the sauna, I'm gonna make a craft. And I'm not villainizing those things. Fucking like go for it if those things make you happy, but just be aware of why you're going. If it's because you're trying to cover something up, then note that, you know, it's just about being aware. So anyways, my dad's like, you know what you should be afraid of? Ticks. Because that's actually what you should be worried about. Like real tangible things, not like silly fears like, am I worthy? Can this world handle who I am? Does my partner love me? Are they going to leave me? Like, am I going to, you know? I mean, it depends what type of relationship you're in, because if it's not like amazing and built on like love and trust and a deep knowing of each other, then like I understand why you'd feel instability. But it was just kind of like symbolic, you know? And so the theme of the day was like ticks. And so we started to talk, and my partner and I were talking about like kids and what they're consuming, and he's like, well, Brenna, tick tock. And I was like, oh my god, there's no way that you freaking said that. There's no way that you're saying TikTok, because it's a tick. You know what you should be afraid of? TikTok. I know that it has like some good content and some helpful things if you need like a how-to. TikTok has a good short form kind of thing for that, but also a TikTok in the sense that like you're just mindlessly scrolling, you're just consuming other people's content, you're consuming other people's worldviews. Maybe you're not critically thinking about it. Maybe there are some good content creators that you do follow that like explain political situations and like help you with spirituality. Like, not necessarily talking about those. I'm more so talking about like the mass way that it's used, and that it's used to also like promote this like corporate agenda to just like consume, to buy this skin cream, to buy this outfit, to follow this influencer so that you can be more like her and less like yourself. Like, TikTok is a tick. And what was my point here? Oh, like my point was just like that we need to ground ourselves in actually like what we should be worried about in this world, because there's so much bullshit out there, and it will blind you, and you'll live your life just like living a blind life. And I really just don't want that. And I want my kids to have good values. I want my kids to feel like the soul and the energy of a place. Like, it was funny, we were drinking these like orange juice bottles, and he was like, ugh, this juice tastes disgusting. And I kind of drank it, and I was like, well, this just tastes like it's from concentrate, which like I've grown up on. And I started laughing because I was like, of course, well, you're from Mexico. Like, fruit tastes different there. You've had real orange juice your whole life, and it didn't cost $10, whereas like here it does. And I just started thinking, you know what though? Like, what you consume, like food wise, like it also, I'm being dramatic, but like it has a soul, you know, it has energy in it. You can tell when things are made from love. You can tell when things are made from good values. We were eating these like pita chips, and it was from this like family owned company, and they were like cracking jokes on the back. I think it's called like Cedar Valley. It's like a BC company. I think it was like this family. I'd have to check where they're from. But they like came to Canada, and they started this business, and you know what? Like, that chip tastes like it was made with love. And I just want to eat things that are made with love. I don't want to eat things and consume things that are made with an agenda to just like create waste and to just produce at this mass level with total disregard for life around us, including human communities and also nature and wildlife, which arguably like is all nature, because people shouldn't think of themselves as separate to nature. Conversation for another time. But yeah, this juice really made me start thinking about this. And then the whole trip was like this fucking journey and this fable where I was just exploring the shit out of my imagination, and I was reconnected with my childhood self. And I was like, ugh, and I love like witchy things and potion bottles and fucking cauldrons, and I just want to make a stew in my hearth with a cauldron. I think I'm from the 15th century. Like, this is really who I am. But it was also this really like cool moment for me, like reconnecting with this thing, with this like part of me that I love, because I think I've been feeling, here I am tying things back together, that I feel so lost sometimes in my life, like not actually knowing like really what I like or where my heart needs to go and like how to express myself genuinely. And I've needed to go through all of those painful moments to kind of like have what my partner would argue, and I agree, is always accessible. It's not just through shrooms. Shrooms just kind of accelerate the process and open the door a little bit faster, to which like I think they're a great tool when used respectfully. And I'm starting to have more of these realizations being like I should own this more and I should like show up in the world, owning my creativity and the way that I think, and that if I'm like really into fucking like fairy tales, but not like, like Sleeping Beauty and that stupid shit, more like a good fantasy, like fairy gnome prancing through the field of flowers, cauldron on the hearth kind of energy. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I feel like I love storytelling. And I mean, I'm saying that knowing that I can go off on so many tangents for storytelling, and storytelling tires the shit out of me, but like my mind occupies this space. This occupies space in my mind. And I want to figure out a way how to, discuss the world and what's going on, and how to actually start to shift our consciousness towards more embodied and authentic values through storytelling and like fables and imagination, and connect people with their childlike sense of wonder, and do that in a way where it's not playing the same game as what the corporations play, or using the same language, but just trying to use it in a different way. Don't fight fire with fire, fight fire with sweet hay. Don't know what that means, but like you have to do things differently if you want to touch people's hearts. So that's also what it made me think about. And it was like very deep. So I was having all of these fucking like realizations about like kids, and I was really feeling that like motherhood sense inside of myself, which is like kind of weird because that switch is not going off. I felt like really detached and distanced from it, but it's just something that I'm starting to think about, being an example for my kids, and like what values am I going to teach them. And the best way that I think I can teach my kids good values is for me to be the most embodied sense of self that I can be. And that's why I've been on this wild self-love journey. And that is why I'm starting this YouTube channel, because I want to share it, because I want to express it. And I enjoy I enjoy expressing myself when it doesn't feel like I'm in resistance to it because it needs to be a certain way, or like look like other people's, or it has to be successful or whatever. Like I don't want to impose those things. I think you just need to create for the sake of creation, for the sake of creating for truth. And that is where you start. So I need to make spaghetti squash right now. I'm going to do that. But this was really fun, and you will see me in more videos. And thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and the bell notification icon.